Hi, my name is Lynn, and I wanted to tell my story of being an alcoholic. Not just an alcoholic, but an alcoholic mother. And I had posted about 8 months ago trying to get my story out there back then. But since then, things have changed a little bit because after that, I ended up relapsing. And it was my longest binge I had ever gone on. This one lasted for from the end of May to the middle part of July. Something I'm not proud of at all. And during that time, I realized I need help. I can't just couldn't just do this on my own. And I know there's people out there that can do this on their own, but I am not one of them. I ended up checking myself into treatment. And at first I was scared, and I ended up going through all the DTs, I guess. I guess you could say I went through all of that, and it is no fun. Never will be fun, and each time I think about it, it makes me not want to drink anymore. But then there are other times where I have a problem with it, with just like a few days ago. It's New Year's. Today is January 3rd, and I have been 168 days sober. I am very proud of myself, and I want to get my story out there because there's other people's stories that have helped me. And if I can help someone else, even the better. Because a lot of people don't talk about alcoholism and the effects it takes. It's just not on me, it's the whole entire family. And I have learned that. And surprisingly, I have a great family that will stick behind me. And I just can't do it to them anymore. It's not so much about them. This is for me. What I've learned in treatment is that I need to do this for me. I need to be selfish and do this for myself so this way I can do it for my kids. And my kids mean the whole world to me. But my story really begins when I was 15. It was a I remember it just like it was yesterday. It was about a week right before I turned 16 when I had my first drink of alcohol. And at that time I was scared. I never had alcohol before. I've never was never around it. My mom didn't raise me that way. So at this party, I guess you could call it, my cousin hands me a cup, and there's alcohol in it, obviously, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I pretended that I needed to go to the bathroom, and I ended up dumping some down the sink. I have no idea how she knew I was doing that, but she came to me and said that if I was just going to do that, then to just give it back. And at that time in my life, just like I guess any other 15-year-old, they want to fit in, you know? So I ended up taking a drink, started getting drunk like pretty fast, and throwing up like I guess any person who parties maybe for the first time does. But that's where my story begins because I back then I made a lot of promises to myself, and I didn't want to touch alcohol at all. I had never been around alcohol growing up, and I didn't think I would ever touch it. I thought back then I was just experimenting, you know. And then it got to be like me partying after I turned 16, partying like every weekend, especially because I switched schools. I'm Even back then when I was 16 years old, I got suspended for taking alcohol to school. And no one had ever talked to me about alcohol. I never knew the signs of alcohol abuse or anything, and I guess those were some pretty clear signs that the alcohol abuse was beginning at an early age. Um, I continued to drink, and like every weekend after I switched schools, like I said, because I had cousins who would buy the alcohol for me, and I kept doing that for a while because I thought it was fun, thought it was a way to fit in. And then at 17 years old, I'm entering my senior year of high school. I end up pregnant, and I stopped drinking. And after that, I mean, I graduated, and then I had my son. And believe it or not, that was 15 years ago. And after that, I felt like I missed out on my senior year, having to take care of a newborn. And it's not as, when I look back at it now, it's not even as rough as a lot of people make it to be. I mean, you have to grow up really fast, and I felt like I was just giving up my years of being a teenager and not being able to go party like everybody else. I would have to find babysitter, or if my mom would take him, then she would take him. But there were times that I did this a lot, so after a while she would get mad at me, we'd get into arguments, and right then there's that sign that there's a problem if I have to be arguing over a babysitter to babysit my son that I should be taking care of. Well, my story goes, and I want to get this out there to all the young moms too, because my life wasn't perfect. Alcohol made it so much worse. But when my kids, because I had another child right after my son, they're about 2 years apart, but I ended up um, getting my kids taken away from me. Like, well, then I actually had another son right after my daughter. So I had my older son, my daughter, and then my middle son now. And he was just a baby. I made the mistake of calling somebody drunk. They knew I had my kids. And so they called the cops on me. And I'm not mad about that anymore. I was at first, and but there it goes with the whole blame thing about alcohol. I had my kids removed from my care. I ended up going to jail, got out, got my kids back, ended up having to go through this whole thing, this whole custody thing, and it just spiraled out of control there, basically. Um, I had my kids removed over the years, like not within the last 10, maybe 8 years. I would say 8. I haven't had them removed since then, but during those times, because I wanted to drink so much, I would choose alcohol over them. And back then, I didn't want to listen to nobody. I just wanted to keep going because I thought it was just, I needed to be fitting in. And if I could go do it all over again, I would. But at the same time, I have learned so much. I've gone down that path because I'm stubborn. I don't want to listen to anybody. If somebody tells me I have a problem, I'm not going to listen because I don't think I have a problem. Or, well, I do now, but back then that's how I was. I didn't think I had a problem. And so, in order for me to get my kids back, I was forced to go to treatment, basically. I went to treatment, I completed it, and during that time, I was a pretty good idea for me to go to treatment because I was going through um, a divorce from my first husband. And then because alcohol is a depressant, I try to commit suicide, and child services thought it would be a good idea for me to go get help. So I went because I wanted my kids back. But my problem with going to that treatment at that time is I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it so I could have my kids back. And I didn't accept at the time that I had a problem, because even during the time that I was in treatment, yeah, I may have let my feelings out. I may have saw this person this, and this person has this problem, and I'm like, I can stop. I can stop drinking. I just want to go out and have fun sometimes. And that's where it got me. Um, After I got back from treatment, I ended up staying sober for about 2 weeks. And I continued on down that path. I wasn't to the point where I was going on binges yet. I would go out just to party, to have fun, or think I was having fun. And it started to get worse. In my last video, I think I say it's like maybe 6 years ago. Yeah, about 6 years ago or so, that I ended up ending up in the hospital for the first time because of alcohol, because I had developed pancreatitis. And I've learned that pancreatitis is caused by if you drink dark liquor a lot, and back then I was drinking it without mixing it with anything. And when I say drinking, for nobody that's watched my other viewed my other posts, I mean, like, I would start off the first night of partying just like everybody else, social, laughing and all that. But when I would wake up the next day after I had already blanked out, I would be all shaky, just like a hangover. It was just a hangover. But me, I didn't want to have to deal with that. I didn't want to feel the shakiness. I didn't want to have to feel how sick I was, the headache. So what I would do would be I'd get up, and whatever alcohol was still left, I would start drinking that. And that's how my binges would start. Well, that continued on, and over the past 6 years, I have been in the hospital, I'm going to say about 2 to maybe 4 times each year. And they're not fun. That's, to me, when I actually sober up, it's embarrassing. I never wanted to go to the hospital. I have been in the same community for a while now, coming back and forth. Yeah, I'd move away, then come back, move away, come back. I'd even try tapering off, which, like I said in my last video, it's not very successful. You have to have the willpower to try to stop yourself from drinking. And once you get that first drink in you, just like with any alcoholic, you want to keep going. And that was me. I wanted to keep going. I've successfully, one time, just once, have tapered off. And it's not, I don't recommend it. There's science out there that people believe, and doctors believe it too, some, but I'm not going to go into all that. But this last time I went to treatment, I realized that I couldn't do it on my own before. I need support. Yeah, before I was just being big-headed on not being able to have, like, oh, I can do this on my own. All I need to do is just talk about it. I need to go to AA meetings more. But that's not it. Letting my story out honestly helps me, because whenever I very first went to an AA meeting, I felt like I wasn't going to fit in. I felt no one else is drinking like me. And I was so wrong. When I went to one, or even when I'm going to treatment, people understand. There is people out there, it's just nobody wants to talk about it. And in order to keep sobriety, you need to let things out. You need to talk to somebody. You need to have that support system behind you. And I can guarantee that you're not going to have the friends that you went into treatment with. They're not going to be there. A majority of them aren't going to be there when you get out. And that's what I realized about treatment. For me, it was, I've only talked to the ones I either met in treatment, or the ones that from the outside that were calling me while I was there. And it's okay with me. I don't need to be liked. I wasn't doing this for anyone but me this time. And the reason I'm trying to keep my sobriety this time in my head, yes, it's hard. It gets hard sometimes, especially when people want to push your buttons and they just know how to make you mad. And you go back to that mentality where you'd go have a drink if somebody did this or said this to you, and you have to work through that. I have been looking at the book that I got from AA, doing the daily inventory, is what they call it. Surrounding yourself with positive people. I have a couple friends that I can actually go to, which I never had before, that I could go to whenever I feel like drinking. And right now it's hard for me to get to an AA meeting because, well, for one, this COVID, and another, I don't have a vehicle at the moment. And so this is one of my reasons I'm doing this video. I see people out there. I see people that don't want to admit that they're an alcoholic. And the only person that can change someone is themselves. And I have this thing where it just like hit the spot for me where it says avoiding places, people, and things may be a good sober strategy in the beginning, but temptation is everywhere and it will find you. At some point, you're going to have to determine to do this no matter what the devil shoves in your face. And for the first few months after I got out of treatment, that's exactly what I did. I stayed home. I was a hermit. I didn't want to go anywhere. I felt embarrassed, to be honest. And it was embarrassing because to me at the time is because I was like, everybody's going to know I went to treatment. Everybody's going to think bad of me because they know now I'm an alcoholic. After a while, after getting out, after being sober long enough to have a clear mind, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. The only people that I care that about what they think is my family. And I mean my immediate family, like my kids, my husband, my mom. They have been my support system. And I guess I recommend finding somebody outside your family that you can talk to be there to support you too, because I love my family. They know what I put them through. We've all gone through this. Like I said, this is a family disease. But you need somebody out there who's going to understand, like when you need a drink or when you want to drink, not need, but when you want to drink. And my mom, my husband, I know they love me, but I guess in order for them to fully understand how an alcoholic's mind works, they would probably have to go to Al-Anon, which for the ones out there that have to deal with the family member that's drunk, that's what I'd strongly suggest. Because nobody wants to be an alcoholic. Nobody wakes up one day and says, yes, this is exactly what I want to be when I get older. I've lost a few family members over the years to alcoholism. Within like the last year and a couple months, I've lost two people in my family to alcoholism, and I don't want to be one of them. And it scares me because my two cousins, they were about, I think, 37, 38 years old, and I am now 34. Of all the times that I've went to the hospital, there's a couple times where the doctor said I should have been dead. And now looking at it, I realize that it wasn't my time to go. I'm on here on this earth for a reason. And I honestly thank God that he opened my eyes and I'm able to still be here. But I do this for my kids. I do it mostly for myself. I'm trying to be a better person every single day. And they tell you to try to write down three things you're grateful for every day. And that's hard. I may not write them down, but I think them. Well, I don't go to bed at nighttime, but whenever I do wake up, I think about them. I try to wake up on a positive note, and it's hard. No one's perfect. No one's going to get it right away. It's a constant battle. But my kids, I do this a lot for my kids because they see it. They see it everywhere. And I've dealt with it with my dad being an alcoholic. And I see it going on with my kids about their relationships. And I don't want to be that one. I want to be able to be there to help them go through this and know that they're not by themselves. No kid asks to be born to an alcoholic. No kid asks for this. And so I am, like I said, I just needed to tell my story.